Hello everybody, it's Timothy here. I want to welcome you to my channel once again. I know I have not been very prolific in creating videos as I manage so many different YouTube channels. I have this one for places, I have another different one for food, and then there's one for properties and one for Penang Hokkien. And so I try to distribute my time among all these channels, and on top of that I of course have my Penang travel tips website, which I've been writing for 22 years and I continue to write. So for this particular channel, I want to help you discover the places in Penang and elsewhere street by street, because you see my Penang travel tips website is encyclopedic in nature. That is to say, every page of it is written as though it is an encyclopedia entry. And in the same way, for my YouTube channel, all the videos will also be encyclopedic, so I will be describing each of the streets one by one. For today, we are going to discover China Street and China Street Ghaut. So this will eventually be embedded into my China Street and China Street Ghaut pages on the Penang Travel Tips website. So when you're looking for information on China Street and China Street Ghaut, you will be able to view this video as well. And so today I'm going to explain to you all the buildings and all the things that you will see over here. And perhaps since it is right in front of us, we'll start with this letterbox. Yeah, this is a letterbox from the colonial times. And if you look here, it has this emblem, which is, if I'm not, is 567, the 7th. So it's a reign of the monarch of that time. I look at this and I believe this is not about the E is not for Elizabeth. So the E here would stand for Edward, King Edward. And so this letterbox dates to the early part of the 20th century, the beginning part of the 20th century. King Edward VII, son of Queen Victoria, so he reigned for a short period after his mother, Queen Victoria, passed away, and during his reign, this letterbox was put up. And what we are seeing here is China Street Ghaut, the extension to China Street. I'm going to cross the road over here. Okay, let me cross this road. This road has been renovated, and so now it's quite neat. I love this road. It's so neat and it has beautiful buildings, which I'll explain to you in a short while. And here we have the sign for China Street Ghaut. In Chinese, it's the big street. Lord Hao is junction. So Ghat Lebochina is the name. And as with a lot of the roads on this part of Georgetown, it was put up after the reclamation. The reclamation that happened in 1880s. In 1880s, they did the reclamation that extended the street, or rather extended the beach. It extended the beach all the way here. Beach Street is over there. We are going to walk that way to Beach Street, and from there they extended the beach all the way to here, so that they can have a new waterfront. So this waterfront was put up in the 1880s, and after the land has settled, they were able to put out new piers over here. And it was a time when Penang experienced a boom in its economy. That boom was fueled by tin mining in the Larut area. So the tin mining in the Larut area in the 1880s resulted in new towns being established in Perak. And the towns that we know that was established there was Taiping and then later on Ipoh. But in particular, Taiping was a town that was established due to the tin mining funded by the merchants who are here in Georgetown. And once the reclamation is completed all the way here, there's these beautiful buildings that are being built. This is already on the early part of the 20th century, and you will see elements of the classical style as well as this is Art Deco style. You will see that there's the year there. This one was built in 1922, and so at 1922 it has the introduction of the Art Deco style, as well as at times elements of the arts and craft styles. So there are several architectural styles of buildings that you can see here. But one thing that is quite that you will see quite regularly is what I am going to show to you here. This. You will see that these buildings have these lines across them, which is called rustication. So this rustication you will see on the buildings here as well as the buildings over here. I'm showing you. Okay, you take a look at the buildings there. You'll see the lines over there. Those are the rustication. It is meant to make the buildings look grander. So those lines are meant to make the buildings look grander, and then these moldings, this column of pilasters also make it look as though these are actual columns when they are just moldings and with a lot of plaster finishings and decorative designs on them. This building has been restored recently, and today it houses Digital Penang. So this is one of the properties of the Penang state government. If I'm not mistaken, it used to be one of the properties that belonged to Yap Choi, because if you come over on this site, you will see its name, which is Wisma Yap Choi. There we go, Wisma Yap Choi, completed in 1922. But even earlier than this one, but before we go any further, let's look at, you see, these are the rustication. These are the rustication, and you'll find this not only at China Street Ghaut, but also at Pitt Street and many other streets where we have buildings erected during that period, the early part of the 20th century. And on this site is MR. MR here doesn't stand for Mr. It stands for Malayan Railway, and it's a stately, beautiful building that was built in 1907. As you can see there, 1907, and it has a mock pediment. You see, a mock pediment, something like a roof structure, and then there are colonnaded columns on this 3-story building to make it look more stately. So this was the Malayan Railway building, and later on it became Wisma Custom, was given over to the customs. Unfortunately, right now it has been disused. You will see that it is totally empty, and it has this beautiful clock tower. I have had a chance to go up that clock tower. I will show you a photograph of it over here, because from up there you can get a beautiful view all around. But that was when the building was open to the public on a specific visit. Unfortunately, you will see right now that the building is disused, which is such a shame. I hope that the government will restore this building soon and use it. It can be reopened as a luxury hotel, I suppose. And it is going to be a wonderful luxury hotel if it is properly restored in such a way. It will be something like the Fullerton in Singapore. Yeah, that is something which I find that is a huge shame if we just leave this building as it is right here. Right now you see, it is totally disused. And as I mentioned earlier, I said that this was originally the Malayan Railway building. But how can it be a Malayan Railway? Where is the railroad? Well, there is no railroad for the Malayan Railway building, at least not on Penang Island, because the railway reaches all the way to Butterworth, and Butterworth is on the other side, which is over there. So, in the old days, the people on Penang Island needing to go somewhere else would purchase their ticket here at the ticket office in this building, and then they will cross over to the railway pier on that side and take the ferry from the pier over to the railway station in Butterworth, from originally from Pride, and then later on in Butterworth, where they would board the train to go elsewhere. Okay, so that was how it was in the old days. But nowadays, if you were to purchase the railway ticket, you can do it online or at the railway station itself in Butterworth. And unfortunately, this building, this beautiful building, is now disused. And I do hope that it would be restored as were the buildings on this side of China Street Ghaut, which have all been restored, and you can see how beautiful they are. And now I'm going to go this way to show you China Street Ghaut as we continue on along this road, and we'll finish our walk at China Street itself. I like it that they have beautified this road, added wide sidewalks on both sides, and also planted all these trees, so this place is so green. Yeah, we always need more greenery along the streets in Georgetown to make it not that hot. I hope that eventually these trees can grow bigger, taller, and provide some shade. And on this side, you will see the balconies up there in what I would consider as very much an Art Deco style element to an otherwise Art Deco building. And a common element to all this building is the rustication. You will see, like, it looks like a zebra on the buildings across here. Okay, let's cross again. So this is the office of Ting City. Okay. And so this is one of the many government offices here. I'm not going in, but I just want to show you the rustication. This looks almost like a piano, you see? It looks like a piano keyboard. And so this is one of the more stately streets in Georgetown. And why is it called China Street Ghaut? Because the Ghaut here refers to what used to be stone steps that leads down to water. In other words, where we are walking right now, once upon a time, used to be sea, but it has been reclaimed in the last quarter of the 19th century when the shore was extended outward. And here we have arrived at the junction for Victoria Street, and I will do a separate video for Victoria Street because, as you know, I want to have the video in encyclopedic fashion, so every street will be a video of its own, so that you can see on my website, on the Penang Travel Tips website. And on this side, this one is called Wisma Warisan. If I'm not mistaken, this also is one of the properties that used to belong to the tycoon Yap Choi. And down below there is this Maison de Poupée. I'm not sure what that is. It's possibly a restaurant, but I love how it curves around as it hugs the junction between China Street Ghaut, which is on this side, and Victoria Street, which is on this side. And yeah, we will do a walk of Victoria Street in a separate video. But right now, since I am here, let's look at the beauty of this building. And once again, here we see they create this form of moldings here to show an element such as a rustication. So it's almost like a zebra again, okay? A zebra on the building. And on that side, they actually color the rustication dark, so it becomes even more pronounced than if they were left white. But I'm fine whether it is white or it is painted dark. I enjoy being white. As you can see here, a totally whitewashed building with moldings on the overhanging balcony up there, which makes it look so beautiful. And here we have a campus of WOU, which is the Wawasan Open University. So this is an institution of higher learning now. And as I turn over to this side, you can see one of the many buildings that was the reason for the reclamation of this part of town. So what you can see here is a go down. In English we say go down, G-O-D-O-W-N. So what is a go down? A go down is a warehouse. A warehouse is called go down. It is a loan word from Malay, which was gudang. So from gudang we can get the word go down, and this is the door to the go down. And unfortunately, this one has not been repainted, or maybe it is better that it has not been repainted, because then we can see the original with this huge padlock. And this go down is an extension of the building up in front, and I will explain that when we got there. And now we go this way. And now we go this way to look at this next building, which is at the junction of China Street Ghaut and Beach Street. So China Street Ghaut nowadays is called Ghaut Lebuh Cina, and Beach Street is called Lebuh Pantai. Once in a while, we walk through this area, we'll see a vagabond or a homeless person. However, homelessness, while it does exist in Penang, I would say it is nothing in comparison to if you were to go to places in the western cities such as Los Angeles, where places like Skid Row would be filled with homeless people crowded out the sidewalk. But we do see it once in a while in Penang. I'm not sure, they may have their own social issues or mental issues that forces them or causes them to become homeless. And here, this is the Ban Hin Lee Bank building. So the Ban Hin Lee Bank building, again you can see the rustication on the pilasters. It's a 4-story building, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's moldings, and these pilasters end up with some more moldings up there to make the whole building look grander and it seems to be raised up on the plinth. So this is the plinth on which the building seems to be raised up to make it look as though if it's even bigger than what you are seeing here. Of course, I am walking back and forth on both sides of the street because I want to show you the buildings on both sides. And on both sides, the buildings are very interesting. And on this side, we have Georgetown Chambers, or rather, this is the side facing China Street Ghaut of the Georgetown Dispensary building. So on this side, we have this main entrance, and from here, it goes up to, this is a dispensary, a pharmacy, as well as you can say a clinic. So it used to be a clinic. And up here, there will be doctors' rooms for people for consultation with doctors. That was used to be long time ago when the building was built. So this is the Georgetown Chambers, and once again, you will see up here, there's this pediment and around sort of potholes up there. I'm not sure whether the potholes are closed up or they are used as events, but obviously you can see now that they are closed up with glass. Perhaps their use is just to admit light rather than to act as events for air ventilation. But you will see that once again there's rustication on the building to make it look grander. So that is the architectural style of the early part of the 20th century, which unfortunately we don't see anymore over here in Georgetown. It would be nice if they were to build buildings such as this today, because I can certainly say that it looks so much grander this way than otherwise. And on this side is the Ban Hin Lee Bank building, and I want to show you the front as well. This is a road sign, and I do not know why it has fallen off the lamppost over here, the signpost over here, but on the other side is again the road sign for Ghaut Lebo China, which is China Street Ghaut. And there you can see the front of the Georgetown Dispensary building, but I will go back to it later. Let's see this one first. Let's see the Ban Hin Lee Bank building first. And so here we are. This is the Ban Hin Lee Bank building, nowadays occupied by CIMB Bank, and quite unfortunately they have put up these glass panels over here that encases the grand arch of the building. So what used to be for this building is this huge triumphal arch that is an empty area here that exemplify or makes the entrance look even bigger and grander. But nowadays there's this modern bank signpost here, and the ceiling over here has more or less encased the otherwise empty vault that we have up there. And so this is the Ban Hin Lee Bank building, and once again you will see that there is rustication on the walls of the building. A very beautiful building on this junction of Beach Street, which is here, and China Street Ghaut, which is over here. And I'm walking this way again so that I can show you Georgetown Dispensary. So here we are, Georgetown Dispensary. You can see so beautiful the moldings on this building. completed in 1923. So 1923 is still a time of prosperity for Penang before the Great Depression hit in and a lot of businesses collapsed due to the Great Depression. So if you look at the history of the Great Depression, you might be interested to find out what causes it. One of each is tariff that was implemented by the United States, and unfortunately, as I'm talking here, we see that the United States is once again implementing tariffs, and we do not know what will be the result. And here we see Georgetown Dispensary Berhad, leading chemist. So over here, there used to be the dispensary itself, or the pharmacy, where you can, it's a drugstore, so you can buy a lot of medicine and a lot of prescription from here. Unfortunately, today we can see that it too is now empty, which is such a shame that in some of Penang's nicest buildings are left disused, when if only they could be put to good use, that would be so great. And here I am standing at the junction of Beach Street, which is there, and China Street Ghaut, which is here. And why is this called China Street Ghaut? Because it's the extension of China Street, which is over there. Okay, see this China Street, which is over there, and China Street Ghaut, which is here. So, as I mentioned earlier, the word ghaut refers to steps that goes down into the water. Because before China Street Ghaut was created, the beach come to here. Okay, the beach or the waterfront came to here, and from here there would be steps going down to water where boats can come over, and maybe cargo or goods can be brought up onto the land. So when the road was extended this way, they retained the name Ghaut, even though the Ghaut is no more. Yeah, the Ghaut has been demolished to make way for the land, but the Ghaut stays on in the name of the street, which is Ghaut Lebo China. And the Ghaut itself also is based on the word Ghaut from India. So if you had the chance to go to places like Varanasi in India, and I have seen the Ghauts over there, and so that was the Ghaut. Because quite interestingly, this whole area, the earliest inhabitants are from the Indian subcontinent. Yeah, aside from the Malays, when the British established the settlement, they would not have been able to do so without laborers from India. And the laborers from India brought with them influences. One of the influences is the naming of things, which is the Ghaut itself. So the architecture of the early part of the 19th century is such that we have names from what used to be Indian names, the word Ghaut, which is appropriated for the Ghaut, and it remains to this day in the name of the road. And now, the next thing which I want to show you is, as you know, that is China Street, and this is China Street Ghaut. But if you look at it carefully, you will notice that it doesn't align properly. That is to say, this road doesn't align in such a way. Rather, if I were to show you on a map, if we go to Google Map and you look at it, the road does not continue in such a way, but rather it continues like a fishbone. So I'm showing to you now on Google Maps, and you can see from Google Maps that the China Street, which is this one, doesn't continue on to China Street Ghaut in a straight line. Instead, it goes in the form of a fishbone with Lebo Pantai or Beach Street forming the spine of the fishbone. So why is this so? I do not know why that is so, but as a result of this, the view from there, if you go look straight on, I'm going to zoom in, you will see right to the end of that is the temple of the goddess of mercy, originally temple for Ma Chor, which is the god of the goddess of the sea. From the goddess of the sea, it later on becomes the temple for the goddess of mercy. Nevertheless, in its original form, this road will go, the view from the temple will be all the way until Beach Street and then the sea. In other words, before all these buildings were erected, you can stand at the temple of the goddess of mercy and look straight on to the sea. However, when China Street Ghaut was reclaimed, they did not continue the road straight on, but they put it like this, and as a result, the view from the temple of the goddess of mercy of the sea has been blocked. And it is blocked by the Malayan Railway building, and I will show you later. To the Chinese, this is very inauspicious because they have lost the view from the temple to the sea, and instead what they can see from there is the clock tower. So to be given a clock tower or a clock almost means that your time is up. And to the Chinese, on the early part of the 20th century, when this place was fully reclaimed and the Malayan Railway building was built, they regarded it as a way to block or restrain them of their own economic progress, because they are considering that the British has built a clock tower, put a clock in front of their temple as a way to check their progress. So that was what I learned when I made the research on these two streets. And now we are going to cross the road. I have to be very careful here to go across this road to this other side. To prevent the video from getting too long, I'm going to sign off here, and we'll be back in the next video where I will walk through China Street.